welcome to my latest experiment. This is the big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley Podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. Walk right up in the room like, fuck everybody but me. Looking like, it's all good, but fuck everybody but me. And I really wish a nigger would say, fuck everybody but me. And you could be just like me, say, fuck everybody. Everybody but me. My name's Harley Neville. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley Podcast.
You love your lyrics where someone repeats something but phrasing it in such a way that it becomes a different context.
I do love that.
That is really
Word
your favorite thing.
It is my favourite thing. That's true.
So he said fuck everybody but me in several different contexts to paint the picture of his of him walking in to the party.
That was my homie Tech 9.
Oh yep. Tech 9, quite like Tech 9 actually.
Quite like Tech 9, so we're on the same page for once on the lyrics. So that's good. So now the last podcast, you were in Dunedin, if I'm not mistaken.
I was.
I had not moved house yet. A lot has happened.
A lot has happened.
Close the curtain, get the sun out of Guy's eyes.
Yep, just blinding me casually there. A lot has happened. And now I'm back. So let's talk a little bit about that move, eh?
About the move, all right. Well, so I moved house. Listeners will know that I moved house. And, you know, change is the only constant in my life, Guy. It's something I've noticed, you know. I mean, I changed schools 15 times as a boy. And usually the impetus for changing schools was that I moved house. So imagine how many houses I changed in my life. If I changed schools 15 times. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Like 15 houses.
Well, and then there's others. And then, so I don't know, I've lived in a lot of places, and this new one, I feel like this house I've moved into, to call it a dilapidated shithole would be unfair.
Right.
Two dilapidated shitholes.
Okay.
You know, it's on the verge of collapse, this new place that I have chosen to move into. And my poor lovely girlfriend, when we went and checked the room, we checked it out at night, right? And it looked okay. We were like, no, this is all right. And I've got
classic look real close because strobe lights lie
situation.
To quote Nate Dogg, is yes, and you know, shrouded in darkness. One, you can't
rest
tell,
his soul.
Yeah, rest in peace, Nate Dogg. But you can't really, like, for instance, darkness, because I know this, darkness hides dirtiness. Because, like, when I don't clean my car for Ubering, I go, sweet as it's nighttime, so no one will see all the shit on the floor. And I know that to be true, you know. And when I have to Uber in the daytime, I'm like, shit, I've got to go and vacuum it for fuck's sake, you know. So I know this.
And that's why
true.
Guy only works night shifts now.
Right, and then I only do the Friday, Saturday evenings.
To hide all the used condoms on the floor of his Uber.
So, you know, I understand this. You win at night. Also, the problem with night, can't tell where the sun is because it's down. It's on the other side of the world.
Yes.
So you don't really know in what context the sun's going to be hitting your house. Two big strikes about looking at someplace at nighttime.
Yeah, well, that's 100% true. And I guess I really should have looked a little closer. But the thing with me is that this is how I prioritize a house when moving. It goes like this. Priority 1, are the flatmates cool? Priority 2, because you can't live with flatmates that are not cool, right? Like, it sucks. You know, it doesn't matter how cool the place is. If the flatmates suck, then it sucks. So, cool flatmates, all right? Does it have cool flatmates? Second, the location. Is the location good? All right, that's very important to me. And then a distant third is the quality of the house itself. That's a distant third for me. So I was like, okay, flatmates seem cool. They're filmmakers. The Mexican guy did threaten to chop my head off, but moving on from that.
But that was just a joke.
That was just a joke. And so the flatmates seem cool. They're filmmakers. The location is passable. And then the house didn't seem that bad at night. And then when we went and checked it out, Angie and I went in to physically move our shit in. We went in, the next time we saw it was to actually move our crap in. So we came with a carload full of shit and started unloading it in the house. And the other people hadn't quite moved out and they hadn't really cleaned, and it was quite like messy, and in the harsh light of day. I'll just pour the whole beer in there, Guy.
So that's what I was just calculating.
So in the harsh light of day, it looked way, way, way worse. And Angie, I'm not kidding, my lovely dear girlfriend, when we left, she burst into tears.
Spontaneous cry?
She actually burst into tears.
Like, when you read in the book, someone bursts into tears. That actually happened to her. She was overwhelmed by the emotions of despair and distress to the point that it triggered an involuntary burst into tears.
I think that part of the issue, it wasn't that the trauma didn't come exclusively from the crapness of the house. Okay, it also came from a previous trauma she had, which was living with you, and and me and Rick Schaefer's, and various other dirty men over the years.
Not a trauma to us, but
a trauma to her. Like, I think when she went into the new house, she realised it's only men living there, and she had been living in this beautiful mansion in Greyland for a wee while now, and suddenly she realised that she was going to get thrown back into this dirty, like potentially mouldy, definitely dusty house full of stinky men who don't clean enough. And I think it hit her like a shock. She realized, oh shit, this is such a regression from where we were, which, to be fair, it really is.
Now, I will just, in the defense of us men, right? Right. Now, didn't you say, I recall a quote in terms of Angie's cleanliness, that you said that in terms of being a cleaning Nazi, that she would have sheltered Hitler after the war or something like that, or was it Himmler? So one of the two. I thought it was hilarious.
You might be taking that out of context, Guy. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I compared my girlfriend to a Nazi sympathizer.
A cleanliness Nazi sympathizer, because of the strict regimented approach she takes to being tidy.
And because she's from Latin America, which is where, of course, all the Nazis were sheltered after the war, because for whatever reason, the Latin American countries sheltered these horrible Nazi war criminals.
So I didn't know that, but that just makes it even funnier.
Well, yeah, that's why it's a funny joke.
Well, to me, it was just funny because you were likening her tidiness to someone that would shelter a Nazi.
Right.
And obviously, Nazi being
very strict.
You've got your spelling Nazi, you're cleaning Nazi. So I just thought it was a hilarious analogy.
Well, it was actually far more intelligent than that.
Right. No, it went one level deeper.
It did.
That no one would understand.
Oh, everybody who knows anything about World War II knows that, the Nazis all went to Latin America after the war, all the ones that got away.
That's a group of 60-year-old plus professors would know that, for sure.
I'm not 60. So yeah, we're in the new house, and look, I have settled in. It's not that bad now that I'm settled in. At first, I was a bit dismayed, but the flatmates do seem cool. The house really, honestly, is not the shittest place I've lived in. I've lived in worse. I've definitely lived in worse. One time, I moved into a flooded basement.
Yeah,
so
that required a pump,
a bilge pump, which I bought from a boating store in order to constantly pump the water out. Every time it rained, you could hear this little bilge pump working. There was a hole behind the wall. Someone had dug a hole behind the wall. And when it rained...
Let's not forget that there was a hole in your wall.
Oh, so there was a big hole in the wall,
which led to dirt.
Which led to dirt.
And drainage.
Under the house. and so I covered that hole with like a panel kind of thing of wood. And I could just remove the panel. And behind the panel was this dirt. And it was on a hill, so all the water, every time it rained, water would run under the house and into the room that I had. So what I had to do was we put a pump into this hole behind the wall. The water would run into the hole. The pump was connected to hoses, which would pump the water out of the hole, out the front door of my room, out onto the street, and it would just pump out onto the street. And left a big stain of brown water stain on the street. It was a complicated endeavour, but it worked. My room never flooded again after I put that bilge pump in.
Or wasn't there one time when it stopped working and it did flood?
I guess it could have, but I don't remember that. Right. But it definitely could have, but I don't think so. But maybe. It was a few years ago. But yeah, so anyway, I've lived in some really, really shitty places. Although yesterday in this house, we were downstairs. There's this little sort of back porch out the back, and I was standing on it moving some shit around, and I stood in the wrong place and my foot went through the floor, and that gave me a fright because
your foot went through the floor
through the wood
porch.
Yeah, through the wood of the porch. It just went through, and I kind of fell off the porch as a result, and I was like,
that would give anyone a fright.
And I was like, wow, this place is really unsafe. And on top of that, I don't think it has fire alarms, right? And it's this old 100-year-old villa that's made of wood, a big chimney, a big brick chimney above, in my room. In my room, there's a big fireplace. So if there's an earthquake, which there has been many of lately, if there's an earthquake big enough and I'm in my room, that chimney could fall on me and crush me. And if that doesn't happen, there could be an electrical fault, which, given how old the electricity is in that house, there could be an electrical fault which could start a fire, and that house would go up in fucking 5 seconds because it's kindling. It's a house made of kindling, and I don't think there's any smoke alarms. And I've just been watching the news about this fire in Oakland. You kept up with that, right?
Not really.
40 people dead so far. They're partying in an old warehouse and it only had 2 exits, and when it went up real quick, and a bunch of people died. And so, I'm thinking about all of this stuff while I'm living in this tinderbox.
Well, I wouldn't worry about that because the house is so damp that when the electrical fusing tries to take light, the dampness of the house will quell that.
True.
And, and stop it from catching light. It's too mouldy and damp. Won't catch on fire.
Now you
may collapse on you, but will not catch on fire, I think.
Right. Guy has not come around and visited me. Come around and see my new house.
Oh, well,
my bestie.
I did walk past it.
He walked past it one night when we were walking back from...
In a great hurry, I walked past it.
Which I guess actually transitions nicely into our next topic, which is us partying, I guess.
Us partying?
Well, we went to the Screen Guild's Christmas party this year.
Oh, yeah.
We are members of various screen guilds here in New Zealand, and once a year they have an annual fiesta to sort of pat everybody on the back and let us all network and stuff.
Yeah, now, a bunch of people acting like twats, basically.
Why? Well, I didn't meet anybody that was behaving like a twat. Everyone was nice. It was a great opportunity. It was one of those situations where no matter who you walk up to and talk to, it was okay because it's a networking event. So it's okay to just walk up to a group of people that you don't know and be like, "Hi, I'm Harley. What do you do?" And that's the whole point of the event. And I did. I utilized that. My only complaint was that, I'm a paying member of the Screen Guild, okay? So god damn it, at fucking Christmas time, give me a free beer. What the hell? Why is there no free beers at the Screen Guild's Christmas party? Not even one.
I can answer that question.
Well, I'm sure there was free beers last year.
Now, the reason that there's no free beers is because 1% of guild members are actually earning any money. Therefore, most guild members are paying a paltry sum to remain a guild member, while the top earners keep the guilds afloat. And because of that, they could not spread the true 1%ers money around enough to get all the bum guild members, which was everyone that, because the 1%ers weren't even there, because obviously they don't want to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Peter Jackson. I'm sure
Peter Jackson don't have time.
I'm sure he's a member of the Screen Guild, one of the Screen Guilds,
and the Directors Guilds probably.
I'm sure he's a member of many of them.
But he can't be there.
Did not go to the Christmas
because
party.
he will be accosted by people like Harley and myself.
Yeah.
But you know,
you might recall I accosted Robin Scholes.
Yeah, you did accost her.
A renowned local producer,
and she looked quite uncomfortable. She looked like she didn't want to be there.
She did.
And she was not really very happy.
No, she didn't seem that particularly impressed by it. But you know, I was like, "Oh, excuse me, Robin. Hi, it's Harley here. You actually produced a sitcom of ours many moons ago. And I just thought, how you been? You know." And then I was like, she was like, "Oh, something. You know, not really kind of committal." And then I was like, okay, well, we've been doing, I just wanted to let you know we've been doing lots of stuff since I saw you last. We released our first...
decade ago.
A decade ago. We released our first feature film. You might have heard of it. I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. She was like, right. I survived a zombie. Yeah, okay. And then she kept on moving. Then she was like, all right, moving on.
She really had to keep going.
She moved right on. Did not see any value to continuing the conversation with Harley Neville.
Understandable.
So, presumably that means she remembered me.
Yeah. Well,
no, to be honest, I should have dropped the keyword Pigville, because I was like, I'm Harley, and I pointed out you, and I said that's Guy, you know. But I should have said Pigville, because the name of our sitcom all those years ago was Pigville. So I think that would have rung a bell, probably.
Maybe. You know, the funny thing is, I actually rewatched that recently because I was teaching some kids. I was tutoring some kids, some young kids, giving them some inspiration. Indonesian kids had come over on this exchange, and they're here to learn about how we sort of create art over here, and specifically filmmaking.
Well, how do they score that plum gig? So it was two kids.
Yep,
two kids. How old were they?
Probably their sort of early to mid-20s.
Guys or girls?
Two guys. But there was a couple of girls as well.
Yay!
I didn't pick those. I didn't pick them.
Gay.
So yeah.
What do you mean pick? How do you like?
Well, because you got like a bio.
You're like, you get to choose who gets raised up out of the dirt in Indonesia.
That's right.
To fly all the way to New Zealand.
No, so they were all over there, right? There's a group of them all over there,
here in New Zealand,
who had come over, and from those you picked two to teach.
Well, what do you pick them based on?
So you pick them based on their biographies, basically.
So it's like, hi, I'm Bob, and
these are my interests. This is what I've done.
Yeah.
This is my experience.
Yeah,
and so I picked two people that I thought my experience would benefit them from.
So they weren't all interested in filmmaking.
Yeah.
So they were all interested in filmmaking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
but these were the ones that put director.
No, like they all sort of put that, but I just picked two that I thought, like, because, you know, one was a university lecturer who university lectured on filmmaking. Well, what the fuck have I got to tell this guy?
Yeah.
He's lecturing filmmaking.
Yeah.
I don't need to lecture him on filmmaking.
Yeah.
And so I didn't pick him, for example.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had these two kids, and I was passing knowledge on to them, but I thought I'd talk about my failures. So I never got past that. I just talked about my failures.
Just give up, kids.
5 hours, I didn't get past that.
Hang on. Before we talk about what you talked about, why did you, Guy Pigden, get asked to teach these Indonesian kids, and did you get paid?
I did get paid.
All right.
I did get paid a handsome sum.
Right. Well, that's filmmaking money, man. That's awesome. That's money being made from the area that you're actually interested in your life.
So a cool $500 in the pocket for 5 hours work.
Not bad.
It's $100 an hour. Not bad.
Standard rate for Mr. Pigden nowadays.
And haven't been paid yet. I will just... I've already done it. Haven't been paid yet.
Well, that's standard in the film industry. You'll get it into 6 to 12 weeks.
That's coming in the mail. But anyway, so what I wanted to do was talk a little bit. I sort of talk them through my journey as a filmmaker, where I've been, where I've come from,
where they cool?
I'm going. Yeah, they were lovely.
Did you Facebook friend them?
Yeah, they're both my Facebook friend now.
Are they listening to the podcast right now?
They might be.
Hello.
I don't know. They might.
I'm the guy that didn't show up.
Yeah, I did actually say, I was like, well, we might have one of the actors from I Survived a Zombie Holocaust come along, and my producing partner, nope, not going to have him. because he did not check his emails.
We'll get to that. we'll get to that after the continuation of this
emails
story.
or texts. So I basically wanted to say, like, look, filmmaking is a lot about fucking up as much as it is about not fucking up. And so I played them a clip from Pigville to illustrate to them, like, I was like, I thought this was going to be my big break.
So you played them Pigville now Pigville was the pilot that was shot by, should we say the company, or are we going to badmouth the
No,
product?
not real. I mean, look.
So let's not say the company. All
Well,
right?
okay.
But it was a big production company, and they commissioned our pilot after seeing a pilot that we shot ourselves. They flew us up to Auckland. Now, all of this is actually, you can watch it in our web series The Project, which I just rewatched recently, and it is fucking amazing. So if you go to YouTube, search Pigville The Project, you'll find our web series there. It's old, but it still stands up. It's really good, and it basically documents everything that happened in a comical way around this time. It's a 9-part web series that happened around the time that what Guy's talking about. So this Pigville pilot was our first big break. We were like 22. We were about 22, and we shot this pilot. We sent it out to every production company in the country, like physical DVDs and an entire season of scripts, posted out to all 40-odd or 50-odd production companies that we could find in New Zealand. And amazingly, a bunch of them got back to us and wanted it. And then, in the end, we settled on a big one, which was, well, we better not get into that. And then that's what you showed them. We went to Auckland and shot this pilot called Pigville,
and it was terrible. I mean, that's the real.
I rewatched it
conclusion
a year or two ago.
It was quite horrific.
It did make me go, like, we were not as good at acting as we thought we were.
Nah,
like, I
disagree.
I watched The Project, and I think that's where we took a turn up, because I watch our older stuff. Everything before The Project, I think we were quite bad.
I agree with that, but the thing with The Project and the show was it was simultaneous.
The Project was like a year or more later.
No, but like I pitched The Project to them at the same time as we were shooting the thing.
Shooting what thing?
The pilot.
No, you're mad. The Project documents us going up to Auckland for the pilot to be shot with this big production company.
But I pitched to them at the same time.
The concept. But we hadn't shot it or anything like that. And we shot it way later, and it didn't come out until I moved to Dunedin.
We hadn't shot it, but it did take a couple of years to come out because we were shopping that around as well.
Yeah.
But they were quite, like, the start of that was they were quite close together.
We didn't do The Project until after the Pigville pilot got rejected, which took some time, because they had to shoot it, edit it, and then they had to send it out to people and stuff like that. So it wasn't until and then it had to be written. So it got rejected, and then you wrote it, inspired by your latest, catastrophe, and then we got around to shooting it, and then it took a long time to shoot, and then we finally released it. So, I was like 20. I was 27 when The Project came out.
Got to remember,
we were 22 when we did the pilot.
No, well, that's not quite correct. You've got to remember that we shot the first half of that before I moved back down.
Yeah.
Okay.
To Dunedin. Guy moved home to Dunedin to save some money.
Yeah. So that first half is pretty much bunched right up against that.
No, because we had to finish the pilot.
Yeah, but the pilot, remember, again, you're thinking the turnaround.
Failed to sell it.
Yeah, but you were thinking the turnaround of the pilot, that took like a couple of weeks. It was real short. That's the whole problem. They edited it and like they shot it.
But then you had to write the new one.
Yep.
You had to write the project.
It didn't take me long to write. It was
definitely afterward, though.
It was afterwards, but it was like right afterwards. It was like,
yeah, it was our next project.
We had this, like, it's not like the time it takes for us to make stuff now. It was like we shot this thing very quickly. We saw it and it was bad. I then wrote the first half of that. We shot that first half. I started editing it. And then I went down to Dunedin. And it was... so, yeah, there was actually not a big gap between those two things. And I did pitch that to them at the time. I said, look, and also we should do like a fictional version of this where things are really going wrong. So then when people watch it, they'll be really interested in actually seeing the thing.
Yeah.
So the genesis,
I remember that.
The conception and the execution was all very quick. And anyway, I recommend watching the project as well because I watched a couple of episodes because I contemplated showing that to them.
Yeah.
It's very good.
It is very good.
It's still very funny.
I've been watching the extended version, which is on the Retro Pigville channel, YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Pigville, just nothing else after it, just Pigville. And that is the Retro channel, and that's where the true extended version of the project is. And that's the one I actually would recommend watching. It's got more characters. I personally think it's better. But Guy disagrees.
Well, to be honest, I think the problem with the extended version, is there are some jokes that are too contrived.
Yeah.
To be funny.
It could definitely do with a remastering, re-edit,
re-edit.
Yeah.
Whereas there is none of that in the shorter version. However, I do agree that there is a lot of great funny stuff missing from the shorter version that's in the longer version, and the longer version is worth your time.
Yeah.
Because that's what I started rewatching was the longer version.
Yeah.
But anyway,
so you showed these kids.
I showed these kids
that was shot by this big production company,
and I said things can go wrong for you at any point. Just because you think something's going to be great doesn't mean it is. But my big lesson from shooting that was that just because you have a huge director directing something doesn't mean that they're going to know more than you.
We had a big name director who was well established.
I think we've already talked about this.
Michael Hurst was his name. He's a big shot here in the New Zealand industry.
Currently directing episodes of Ash vs Evil Dead, and
he used to direct Hercules and Xena, the Hercules, the Xena.
He's basically directed.
And he played Aeolus in Hercules. He played a regular sidekick of Kevin Sorbo, the devout Christian zealot who is up to all sorts of mischief nowadays.
Is he?
Yeah, he's like advocating all sorts of weird shit.
Well, anyway, so Michael Hurst directed it, and that was the big takeaway. I was like, we tried to keep this with us, and they took it away from us, and they botched it. Because we let them take it away from us, even while we were trying not to let that happen. And when I watched that pilot, I was like...
How did you watch it? Do you have it on DVD?
Yeah.
We need to digitize
I've got it on
that.
iTunes, I think.
You've got it on iTunes?
Well, my iTunes.
So we can upload that?
We could upload it, but man, it's...
Well, I reckon we should upload
I don't know
as,
if we're
as
probably
bonus
not.
Content on Patreon.
I mean, no one will care now, but we're probably not allowed to do that.
I reckon we'll get away with it.
Well, I'm sure we will get away with it.
No one will be watching.
Because no one will be watching or caring.
I reckon, well, maybe the listeners can decide. They can tell us, should we upload it as a bonus piece of content for the Patreon supporters out there? You guys know who you are.
Taking into account that it's an abomination.
Keeping in mind that it's an abomination.
But anyway, like that was my takeaway from that whole experience. I was like, wow, we've got this amazing director, and he's fine, he's totally fine, but he's missing important things that I wouldn't be, and he's sort of glossing over or kind of ignoring key aspects that probably need to be addressed that I thought of at the time. And so what I guess the takeaway is like a director is just a director, doesn't matter how many things you've directed or how little things, it's your understanding of the material and your commitment to that material that will really make something good or bad. Maybe you'll certainly make more mistakes.
There's various other factors outside of their control as well, obviously.
Yeah, and you'll certainly make more mistakes. And honestly, when I look at that, because I remember shooting it still quite vividly, there's so many problems with the edit, and I really think there is a much funnier version and a much better version, and I'm talking about our acting as well, that is just cut together differently. And it's just not cut together right. It's cut together like the opposite of how I would cut it together. It's kind of sort of, playing up the silly crass humor that we weren't really a fan of and didn't really include, bar exception of this scene, which is in it, and is the focal point of the pilot.
Yeah.
It also focuses on the other actress, clearly because they were nervous about us as actors. So they're like, well, let's just kind of maintain the focus on this female lead the whole time because she's great and she'll carry it through and you won't notice that these guys suck. That was the wrong approach because we're the stars of the show, and also we were still funny back then, and what is missing is all like the cutaways and reaction shots of us because they were trying to focus on this other person going, oh no, whatever they're doing is a disaster.
Well, it is possible that whatever we were doing was a fucking disaster. Because I do stand by my statement that everything from before the project that I've seen of all of our stuff, we don't get good until the project. I'm sure we learnt a lot just on that show, on all of it. Yeah,
I agree, but I also don't think that, it's not that bad. What we were doing wasn't that bad, and instead of editor, and also like the whole idea of being an editor is concealing people's weaknesses and playing up their strengths. If I had $1 for every time I cut out some of your shitty acting, Harley, I'd be a millionaire right now. But the thing is, you got to know to do that. You got to be prepared to scour those takes to get the gold. And they were definitely not scouring.
Which is why you're my favorite director to work with.
They were not scouring. The 0% scouring of takes.
Well, I think that really is what it was. At the end of the day, was that for them, everybody working on it was on a salary pretty much, or they were just contracted in. Like from crew to the producers to everybody, nobody was personally invested in it except for us. And everybody else, it was just a job. It was a one-day job. Oh yeah, I've got to go shoot this this like no budget pilot. In Kingsland or wherever the fuck it was.
And realistically, the editing was probably a 1 or 2 day job.
Exactly, and the editor would be on staff on salary on staff for this company, for this production company.
And it's like, what are we editing today?
What am I editing today? Oh, this thing, pow. There it is. Finished it.
What do you want?
There we go.
Oh, it's all right, isn't it?
There we go. Look at that, still steaming. That's how quick I did it.
And that was the big problem. I really feel like there's such a better version of that.
For us, it was our life. It was a big thing that we'd been. It was our big opportunity. This was something
like a half a year
making the original pilot, which
and
they liked,
writing the scripts,
and writing the scripts, and
submitting it, and like it was like our big break
for us,
opportunity.
For me, it really felt like I was like, this is it. After all these years, at the time it was like 5 years.
Yeah, it was only
filmmaking,
5 years.
But 5 years of
seemed
filmmaking
like a lot of time.
It seemed like a lot at the time.
5 years it was a lot of time.
Oh, it is, and it was a quarter of our lives at the time. It was like we were 22 years old.
So it seemed even longer.
Exactly.
Because of how long we were alive.
Exactly. And so it was this big break, this massive opportunity, and so it was really disappointing when the product showed up, when we finally saw the final product, and it wasn't really polished to the caliber that we would have done it to, or would have liked to have seen it done to. And then on top of that, another one of the big problems was that we did 2 scenes. We shot 2 separate kind of scenes from different episodes, if I recall correctly. And one of them was more about the dialogue and the talking, and like it's talking about crass stuff. It's talking about the setting is my character has gone to an STI support group, a sexually transmitted infection support group.
Funny premise.
In order to meet slutty girls.
Hilarious concept.
And so it's all about me. I'm there like kind of macking on these slutty girls at the STI support group.
But you don't even know really what an STI is.
Yeah,
and you're just kind of talking nonsense about whatever yours is. Because you don't know, because you've never had sex to get an STI at this point.
So, it's quite a funny idea, and there's lots of dialogue and blah, blah, blah. Like, good dialogue, as I recall it. Goodish. And then the second scene was more a focus on the toilet humor, which was done on purpose. It was to show the juxtaposition. It was like there was actual like toilet humor where a girl is taking a piss, or I think a shit even, in the shower.
Like honestly, like when you rewatch that sequence, because basically the concept is that Harley's character starts dating a total psycho. And so
that I met at Wynn's while she was applying for the sickness benefit.
And so another funny concept.
And she moves in the next day.
And she moves in, right? And so the 2 flatmates, played by myself and what is the other guy's name?
Chong.
Yeah,
Chong.
Is that his name?
Chong. Yeah.
That's not his character's name?
No, it's his real name. His name is Chong, and he plays Chong in the project,
Yeah,
which
right,
everyone
okay.
needs to go and watch.
So anyway, we say basically like, look, this girl's a psycho, you got to break up with her. And he's like, well, how am I going to do that? And we suggest to him, Harley is so disgusting and gross in real life that all he has to do is just drop all the pretenses and be that disgusting, gross person that he is.
Just be myself.
Just be that person, and then she will be 100% revolted. And of course, the turning of the tables is that she continues to up the ante and the grossness.
Yeah.
But it's basically like one...
She loves how liberating it is.
Like 1 5-minute fart joke, essentially.
Yeah.
Upping the ante of the fart joke.
I believe at one point she literally grabs my head
and farts into your face.
Into my face.
And to me, like, this is the thing. I did rewatch that. This is the thing. Like, I rewatched that. Your facials, like, are very funny. Like, your reactions are funny. There's nothing wrong with your acting in that scene. The issue is that it's a stupid scene about farts for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's actually nothing to do with what we were...
I seem to recall that the fart being, the ADR fart sound
the farts
effects being
were
pretty shitty as well.
Also the
there's
farts
too many
were
of them.
coming thick.
They
And heavy.
There's lines...
They were really laying on those farts.
There's lines about it in the extended version of the project where Guy is saying they added an extra fart. That's missing with the artistic integrity of the scene. So yeah, they added in all these extra farts and stuff, and yeah. So basically, we had these two scenes, right? The fart one and the dialogue one. And obviously the dialogue one was the one that we would have put forward. But what happened was, on the day, the soundy recorded the sound to shit. We were next to like a play centre, so there was kids next door yelling and yahooing. And so they decided that the audio was too much effort to clean up. They weren't going to ADR it. So they would just drop it. Drop it.
Just lose that whole scene.
So then when it came time to pitch it to the networks, instead of pitching, sort of a round package, they pitched just this 5-minute fart joke, this 5-minute extended fart fest, which obviously didn't get picked up. And it was just like, okay, yeah, well, obviously that was never going to work. And then the thing is, they still sent us the other scene, which I'm glad they did, and we watched it, and the audio's not that bad. It's not great, but it hasn't been cleaned up. They haven't done anything with it. And if they had cleaned it up and fixed it, it would have been fine.
It's probably workable.
And even the way it was, as a pilot, as an example, it's not a pilot to be broadcast, it's just an example of a no-budget kind of pitch that, what we could do with no money sort of thing. Yeah. It would be fine. You could still pitch it, and that would be better than not sending it in.
The funny thing is, also, like, there's just so many weird things. Like, I remember on the day, there's a scene where I pull Chong's character into a cupboard and talk with him, and they were like, don't look down at him, look over the top of his head. And I was like, don't you think that's going to be weird? And they're like, yeah, but the light is hitting your eye right there, and you want to see your eyes, so just look over the top of his head. And I was like, well, you guys are the boss.
Yeah, you guys are the professionals. What do I know?
Yeah, what the fuck do I know about natural acting? So there's this sequence where I'm talking to Chong, and I'm not looking at him, and I'm not blinking, and I'm looking over the top of his fucking head, and it looks insane. I look like a mental person. And it just doesn't make any sense, and it completely took me out of the scene. I was like, what the hell am I doing? Yeah. And it was just like, that is just a classic case of, like, sometimes the people that are telling you what to do don't necessarily know better.
And what really bothers me about that particular scene, see, by this point I had gone because I was late for work in Wellington and we were in Auckland, and I was like, I'm really late, guys, and we had to shoot all my scenes first because this bitch from my work wouldn't swap with me. We won't get into that, but
also that's the funny thing, like, just the whole, like, organization of it. It's like, hey, do you guys want to do a pilot? Yeah, sounds great. Okay, we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
For a day and a half. Fly in on the red eye, and sleep on someone's floor, and we'll see you in the afternoon.
In the morning, very early in the morning. And oh, okay, well, is there some way, can we get a taxi or something to the studios? No. Well, I guess we'll fucking have to then, won't we? So they had to pay for our taxi, and they seemed upset about it. And remember there was racism against Chong? There was like, the production assistant was like, I can't even remember what she said. She something about...
There was some legitimate racist statements.
She was like, how do you know Chong or something like that? And I was like, oh, I used to date his cousin. And then she was like, oh, you dated an Asian.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Asians are beautiful.
Exactly.
How could you possibly discriminate against an Asian babe?
Exactly. Hot Asian girls. What's the problem? So clearly she was just a schlubby Kiwi girl.
Yeah.
A schlubby, jealous Kiwi girl.
Hating on those Asian babes.
Upset about the petite Asian babes. So yeah, I think that was our first taste of Auckland anti-Asian racism.
That's true. And also, that's the thing, I think, like, obviously looking back, what would you have done differently? Well, of course we would have edited it ourselves. But also, like, the biggest takeaway was, like, don't trust that all these people with money and experience are going to do a better job than you. Because they've got that.
I didn't finish what I hated about that scene with you in the closet.
What
as
did
well.
You hate
was
about?
This is a case of that like weird directing thing, I guess. Was it's a scene where Guy is alone with Chong in a closet, and they've got to hide in there so that the psycho girlfriend, can't hear what he's saying, which is their plan to get me to dump her.
Yeah.
So, because that's how psycho she is. She knows everything, right? And then, so he's already quietly talking with Chong in the closet for an entire scene, and then Chong's like, okay, so what's the plan? And then Guy leans in and whispers indistinctly in his ear and goes,
classic trope.
And when I watched that, I was like, well, why would they whisper? They're already alone.
I brought him into the closet to talk quietly with him.
They've been talking this entire time. Why would they do that? Well, they'd do that so the audience won't know what the plan is. But that's just a dumb way to end it. That's just a dumb way to end the scene. It's like, well, what? That makes no sense. They're already alone.
It doesn't logically make sense. And a lot of things didn't logically make sense by the time the shortcuts had been taken. And that was the sort of problem. But I do imagine a totally different reality where it's like, actually, we're going to spend some money and some time on this. We're not going to shoot 20 pages in 2 days,
which is what we did.
Or even, and when I say 20 pages, I mean 20 pages in a day and a half because you had to leave.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even 2 full days that we worked on it for. And all it needed is a bit of love. That's what it really needed, and it wouldn't have been as good as anything that we could do, a couple of years later. But it could have been so much better.
Okay, so that's 40 minutes into the show. What was the end of the story? Which is that you showed it to these kids at the.
I just showed it to those kids, and they were like, "What the fuck is this?"
Did they watch the whole thing?
No. I just showed them that last fart section.
Right.
I didn't, because honestly, I was like, I can't put these kids through watching this whole, 15 minutes or 12 minutes, however long it is. I'll just show them the end bit.
Yeah.
And illustrate.
Yeah.
How things can go wrong.
Yeah.
With the best of intentions.
Yeah.
So yeah. Also, remember that other thing? It was in the wrong aspect ratio. How half-assed do you have to be to shoot something and then squeeze it and then give that out to all the networks?
Yeah.
And then be like, oh, it's in the wrong aspect ratio. Oh, well.
It's kind of embarrassing, actually.
Well, it's very embarrassing, but I guess that also illustrates the level of care and attention. Like, wrong aspect ratio, so they all look squeezed and weird. Oh, well, we've done it. So there you go.
So there you have it.
Also, normally when you develop a pilot, there would be a lot of back and forth on that edit. There'd be a lot of development.
Yeah.
There'd be, there might even be some reshoots. That's how pilots actually work.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was none of that. They sort of gave us the DVD and they're like, here you go. And we were like, oh my God, this is terrible. Can we please have a go at editing this? And they're like, sorry.
Did we actually ask them?
I asked them. Yeah. And they're like, sorry, we've sent it away.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no.
Yeah. It was such a downer after that as well. Like after all was said and done, right? The show got rejected, and you and I had nothing else in our foreseeable future.
Nothing going on
as far as exciting things going on.
0%.
You know, and that we thought it was our big break. See, now I'm kind of used to this idea that
things might be a big break, but they're not.
But they're not, exactly. You know, like every single thing we release, I'm like, it might be our big break, but I know it's probably not going to be. Whereas at that time, I was like, it might be our big break.
And it probably will be.
And that was it. Just it might be.
Yeah.
You know? And so yeah, afterwards was quite a depressing time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we until we started shooting the project, which the project was cool and I was excited to shoot the project, but the thing about it was that it was a no budget, us shooting it on the weekends, you know, sort of project. You know, it was just back to square one kind of thing, you know?
Yep.
And then on top of that, you know, I'm not kidding, we filmed it when we were 22, 23, and it came out when I was 27. When I came back from the cruise ships. I was 27, I just turned 27.
Now, in defense of that, we had finished several versions of it well before that, but the whole idea is we started shopping that around.
Yeah,
and we
which
were
delayed
like,
it.
Hey, you know, do you want to... And like, they're like... And, you know, one person was like, oh, yeah, this is really good, but can you do this? And we're like, yes, we can. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's great. No, they didn't want that, but can you do this 44-minute version of it? And we're like, yes, we can. And they're like, they're not interested in that either. And we're like, okay, well, we've just wasted like a year doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just release it online.
Yeah. And to be fair, it does have several million views, I think. The series overall. So people should go to YouTube and search Pigville The Project and just start at the start and watch it. Watch it all. I recommend the extended version, but if you just watch the short version, that's cool too. It's still pretty good.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Well, I guess we should, you know, that's a downer. That's a downer story.
Yeah.
Right? So we should get into our upper story.
Okay.
Upper story is... Now, we've been talking about...
this is big news, yeah.
No Caller ID.
Big news. This is this is actually a big announcement exclusively for the podcast listeners.
Depending on the time it takes for me to upload this.
Exactly. We will share it online on Facebook.
But essentially, No Caller ID. It's been gone to a few festivals.
Yep, that's our latest short film.
Got some good reviews.
Voted top 3 standout film at top 3 standout films at LA Scream Fest.
And then, lo and behold, I'm working my ass off at 3 a.m. last night. I see a message come through from the festival director of A Night of Horror in Sydney.
Dean Bertram. Shout out to you, Dean.
Good friend, Dean. He messaged us and said, hey, congratulations. Your film has won Best Short Film at A Night of Horror. No Caller ID, Best Short Film. Obviously, this is an international festival. They probably, I'm guessing 200 shorts submitted, maybe more. Big deal.
It's a big deal.
Ours is best film.
No Caller ID is the best short film
in the world.
In the world,
according to A Night of Horror.
According to the judges at A Night of Horror International Film Festival.
They looked at a swathe of films from all over the world. They judged them all and found our film that we shot in a day for a couple $100 to be the best one.
Yeah. Now, this is a big deal because we have never won Best Film before.
That's true, actually.
And before this, our biggest award was probably the Independent Spirit Award, which we got for Zombie Holocaust, also at our Night of Horror International Film Festival 2 years ago. Now, the Independent Spirit Award, obviously, we're very stoked to have it, but it's kind of it's not the best film. It's like just a
up and comer award.
Yeah, like a tip of the hat to you sort of award. And so to actually get the best short film, that's quite a big deal. Like, pretty awesome.
Pretty fucking good for a project that...
Award-winning filmmakers, Pigville Productions.
We didn't take, we didn't invest all our sort of resources and energy into that. we tried to do the very best we could, but we had very strict limitations on that film and on that film sort of, coming together. And, it's pretty fucking cool.
It's a big deal. So I'm very happy. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to being able to make the announcement officially publicly online. For now, it's just for you guys.
Also, that's the other thing. I was like, it felt great. Very disappointed that we didn't go over because we could have. And had we known, of course, we probably would have.
Yeah. The thing is, I spent all my money going to LA.
Yeah.
And that was... So I went to Screenfest, and I'm glad I did. It was a great time, and I really achieved a lot while I was there with the reviews and all that stuff that I sort of organised. But, it would have been really good to have gone to a festival where you actually win an award.
Yeah.
Jesus. Best short film as well. That would have been fucking amazing. And it's only across the ditch, like Sydney's not that far away. We could have stayed for free at Adam's house, the DP.
Well, I actually spoke to Adam and I was like, you could have just picked up that award. And he was like, yeah, I was actually thinking of attending the awards thing, but I didn't bother.
Boo, Adam.
I don't know if he realized, I don't know if there was nominations.
Yeah.
In that category.
Yeah.
There probably wasn't.
So are we going to get a trophy or something?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. But
interesting.
It's pretty cool. And that's the thing is, I guess, we talk a lot about failure here on the Guy and Harley podcast. We just told a big story about it.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a win. It's always good to have a win.
Yeah, it's worth noting that we are actually winners.
Yeah, sometimes.
Occasionally. Now, we have also entered No Caller ID into the New Zealand Film Awards for 2017 as well. Now, we don't know if we're accepted or anything like that, but we went last year they didn't have a film awards because no good films came out last year. The year before that, we went to the film awards. We were nominated in 2 categories for I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, and the year before that, I went along because another feature film I was in, Ghost TV, was nominated as well. So I'm really, really hoping that this will be my 3rd consecutive attendance mowers of the mowers. So we've submitted No Caller ID for a few categories, and hopefully we'll hear that we've at least got a nomination. If we don't win, that's all right, but as long as we get nominated for something.
Because if we can't win we've just won best horror film in the world. We just won that.
Yeah.
We can't get nominated for best New Zealand film.
Best New Zealand short film.
Yeah.
Independent self-funded.
Short film.
Self-funded short film.
That's a key distinction. So this is not even all the short films in New Zealand. This is the ones that didn't have $10,000 or $30,000
or $100,000
to make it. That's us.
So many of them are going to have 100,000 or more.
Well, there is a little bit of a risk that also there are going to be some self-funded short films that are $100,000.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone found $100,000 to make a fucking short film. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
But let's hope. But that's pretty cool, and I was pretty happy for about 5 minutes there before the next phone call came in.
What was that?
Well, the next, alarm monitoring phone call, and I had to sort of get back
work.
to fucking reality.
Right.
I read that. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
And then it was like, you have an alarm activation at some school. Please dispatch a guard. And I was like, yep. But the real world beckons.
Okay, well, look, more good news. Sort of, not really.
Okay.
Kind of starts off as good news, turns out to not really be good news, but I had 2 auditions.
Oh, good for you. And how was it? I hope it was fucking good because it's useless now, isn't it? Fuck's sake, man, you're amateur.
Right.
The first one was playing King Arthur's father. I had to be regal, but I actually kind of rehearsed it wrong. I didn't really rehearse. Well, I didn't really rehearse it enough, to be honest. And it was a commercial paying about $10,000 and filming down in the South Island, so that would have been cool. But I did not get it. I'm assuming I would have heard something by now. But
I thought you had the perfect beard/bald head for that.
Yeah, exactly. I was so perfect.
I was like, this guy. I was like, he looks like King Arthur's dad.
Yeah, exactly. King Arthur's schlubby dad.
I was like, this is perfect. Like, his beard is beautifully sculpted for this role.
Yeah.
And the no hair just adds another dimension.
Yeah.
He's been in the wars.
Yeah.
He's King Arthur's dad.
Yeah.
No.
No, well, I didn't get it. But to be honest, the audition didn't go that great. I feel like I didn't hold myself in a regal kind of way, which I think is actually what they wanted. I mean, like, it was a scene where Arthur is being born, and so I had to be there sort of, watching this birth, and then, I'm happy that I've finally got an heir to my throne kind of thing,
Right.
But that wasn't really how I rehearsed it. I rehearsed it like I'm a loving dad who's stoked to have a son, and then it turned out they were like, no, more detached, more King Stannis, more King Stannis. And so it had to be a bit more like, this is the heir. I'm thinking strategically here. This is the heir to my throne. I'm a regal dude, and so that just kind of threw me, and I just didn't really do a great job, I feel. So I don't blame them for not casting me. The next one I had, so I've been back for just over a month from LA. I've had 3 auditions. It's pretty good. This latest one I had was $6,000 for a day's work, and it was for. What was that one for? Well, hang on. Going back to the King Arthur one, there was this girl, Zana, who was from Flat 3, which is a successful web series here in New Zealand. Go check it out, Flat 3. And I'm pretty sure she's from that. And she was like, hey, I had no idea who she was, though. And she was like, hey, it's nice to meet you in person finally. When I met, she was running the auditions. And I was like, hey, yeah, nice to meet you too in person finally.
Person I don't know.
Hot Asian girl that I don't know. And then we did the audition. At the end I was like, hey, so are we Facebook friends or something? And she was like, oh yeah, like I'd kind of made it a little bit awkward by not knowing who she was. But to be fair, she knew my name before we met. I didn't know her name. She was just somebody who came to collect me. So why would I know? And then so I checked on Facebook to see if we were Facebook friends, and we were not. So
simple answer for that.
Well, so either here's my thing. Either she deleted me immediately afterwards, or we were never Facebook friends, and she just knows who I am because I'm famous as fuck.
No. Oh. Third option.
What?
She thought she knew you, actually mistook you for Simon Ward, and was assuming, because she is friends with Simon Ward, and they have done stuff together, and she was like, hey, Simon Ward / Harley Neville. In my head, they're the same person.
Same.
Bald guys with a beard.
Zombie Holocaust.
Bald guys with a beard, both in Zombie Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you were like, hey, who are you? And she's like, oh, for fuck's sake, these motherfuckers. Simon Ward, I can't believe you.
So now Simon Ward's in her black book.
Yeah.
Sorry, Simon.
So that's my takeaway from that one. Or just she mistook you for another bald guy with a beard.
Nah, I reckon she's just seen me popping up in her Facebook with my constant Facebook campaign, spam pain. Now, the next audition was was a commercial for a car company, and it went all right, and it was quite a cool role, a very funny role. I think it will actually be quite a funny ad, and it was a cool opportunity for me, and I had to speak a different language. I had to speak German, but I had to speak it badly, and that was cool. It was a good audition, good role. But the problem was, it was a situation where I was teamed up with another actor who I'd never met, which is standard practice. It's par for the course in the auditions. I'm auditioning alongside somebody, but I've never met them before and have zero chemistry or connection to this person, and we just suddenly have to be funny together, and so I was like, fuck, I really hope I get somebody cool, because it had to be a middle-aged fisherman man, and I had to be the younger fisherman man, and I was like, I really hope I get somebody cool. And then this dude walks in, and he 100% looked the part. He was like a middle-aged fisherman type dude, with like missing teeth and everything, and he fully looked like a New Zealand fisherman in my imagining of a New Zealand fisherman. And he wasn't really an actor. He had one line. He had not even one line. He had one word that he had to say, and he hadn't bothered to look to see what the word meant. So instead of saying the word in German, but in the way that you would say it with the word, with the meaning behind it, like it was meant to say nice. Yeah. But he was just saying it like just with no acting really. He was just saying it. He was just saying the word, and it was really meant to be the humor came from the pause, the interaction between the two actors before the conclusion of the ad kind of thing. And this guy just didn't have it, and he wasn't an actor. And then on top of that, he came up from Hamilton for the audition, I guess. Bloody Hamilton, always haunting me. came up from Hamilton for the audition, and they're like, "Are you available for the shoot dates?" And he was like, "Oh well, no, I probably can't really get out of work on the Monday."
What an idiot!
I know. I might be able to do the Tuesday though. And
what a fucking idiot!
No, they told me I've got to work all day, and you know.
Why did it even come up?
Why are you here? Firstly, why are you here? Secondly,
why don't you read the script?
Thirdly, if they say, "Are you available for the shoot dates?" and they're paying $6,000 for the day, just say yes, motherfucker, and then call in sick.
Yeah, like, that's such a simple equation. Like, here's the thing about working, right? You can call in sick any time.
Exactly.
It's not like, this is the thing, like, they go, "Oh, look, we need you for 2 months." You go, "Oh, shit.
That's
I'm
a
gonna
problem.
Have to, that could be an issue.
I can't lose my job. I've got a mortgage to pay.
But they go, "We need you for 1 day.
And we'll pay you $6,000.
Can't do it, sorry."
"Oh, I probably can't make it." So I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake," you know. And then so it was my turn, and they were like, "Oh, hi Harley, so are you available for the shoot dates?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." And then, you know, I'm not actually available, but I was like, "Yes, I am." And then they were like, "Okay, and are you available for callbacks on the Wednesday?" And I'm like, "Yes, certainly, indeed I am." "Wardrobe, yep, I'll be there." You know, just saying yes to all of it. And I'll just make it work later if I get to that stage. And so anyway, we did the audition, and like, I feel like I was pretty good. I was all right, but it was just difficult and flat. We only got 2 takes. It wasn't particularly funny. There was no chemistry between he and I. He didn't really know what he was doing. He did seem like a nice guy. Like, he seemed like a nice guy, but he wasn't actually an actor, I don't think. I think he was just a middle-aged man that had decided to put his name down for auditions.
Fucking ad.
Well, he must have signed up with an agent or something, and that's cool and good for him. But, you know, like, it kind of fucked up my day.
Well, I will say about that, it's a very good point.
Well, because I will point out as well that 2 commercials I've had have been with a local poet and actor, Jess Holly Bates, and 2 times she's been my TV wife in 2 totally separate productions, and both times we've auditioned together, and both times we've landed the roles, and it's because we've got good chemistry. It's good, and it's because she's funny and easy to work with and interesting, you know, so it's cool. It works really well.
Yep.
And so I really think that a big part of the reason I got those 2 roles was in part because of her acting and the chemistry that it created on screen between us, you know.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. I had an audition recently for a Burger King ad.
Oh, good for you. And how was it? No! Don't shut me up. This is the second time that he doesn't give a fuck.
Which I forgot to mention because I don't like to waffle on and talk about myself too much.
Hey, you talk about yourself. This is what this fucking podcast is. And when is talking about auditions talking about myself? This is a filmmaking podcast.
But
it's a podcast about our lives.
But
fucker.
I talked. I had an audition with this chick, and she was very easy to work with.
What else would we talk about?
And I was like, yeah, this is when auditions go right. Like, and I didn't get a callback for that or anything, but I was like, that was as good as it's going to do because we actually seemed like a couple. And I think that is a very important thing, is you're really only as good as who you work opposite with.
Yeah.
In acting. And like, good acting elevates your acting. Bad acting really brings it down.
Yeah.
And like, I think you can't really put in a acting clinic if someone else is acting really poorly opposite you.
Yeah, well, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, right?
Yeah. So I do definitely agree with that. And too bad that Hamilton guy ruined your shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't heard 100% that I don't have a callback, but it's looking pretty 99% that I don't have a callback by now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'll let you know about that. Now, I had an encounter with a crazy masturbating Texan Trump supporter. And I
as you do.
And I sent him a sexual encounter. No, I sent him an episode of the podcast. Now, but what happened was I got a random ad on Facebook. I've had a few of these lately where people have added me on Facebook from America, and it's because they've seen I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, which is currently playing on Showtime and AT&T and about a million other places, all reputable distributors or screening, whatever you call those channels. Broadcasters have it. So go and check out I Survived a Zombie Holocaust on all good reputable places. Facebook.com/ISAZH. Now that I survived the Zombie Holocaust, people have been adding me, and so this guy added me, and the first thing he brought up was my ass and my hairy back in I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. So that raised a few alarm bells for me, of course. But, that's kind of normal as well. Like, a lot of the time, the people that add me are like dudes from America, beer lovers from America.
Who want to come on your ass and back.
Who want to come on my back hair.
Yeah.
Who want to ejaculate on my back hair.
And fuck you in the ass, I guess, of course.
First, and then ejaculate on my back hair. Yeah. So let's just let the listeners just visualize that for a second.
Dwell on that for a moment.
Just give them a moment to let that settle in.
Yeah.
Now, so this guy, as far as I'm aware, he claims to be straight. He was never overt, but he regularly brought up these kind of things, that scene and this scene, and so of course I did what I do, which is I spammed the shit out of him, right? I sent him the older trailer, I sent him all the Facebook pages, all of that stuff. This is kind of my thing. This is kind of what I do. It's like, I interact, I'm nice enough, but I'll just make sure I'm getting something out of it too, and so he, in the end,
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm up to that point. I've got that so far from you.
So in the end, somehow he watched Not Wanking, our skit Not Wanking, which I will add is on YouTube, and you can search it, Pigville, Not Wanking, and it's actually got 20,000 views now and a whole bunch of thumbs up. It's actually doing all right, and that's without me really pushing it. But anyway, he watched that, and he said to me, I watched your video, and it seems like you wank off a lot with a sock. Ha 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 ha. Just messing with you, which was kind of what he was doing a lot of the time, just repeatedly bringing up sexual things. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, something. And
you go, yeah, of course, I do wank off with a sock regularly.
I do that,
of course, yeah.
And he was like, now this is where it got weird. Now, the first thing is that I sent him, as part of my spamming, I sent him one of the previous episodes of the Guy and Harley podcast called Trumpocalypse, which is all about Donald Trump. And it's just after Trump has been elected in America, and, it just happens to be us bad-mouthing Trump. But it was a pure coincidence. I didn't know that he was from Texas and a Trump supporter kind of thing. But anyway, he said, this is where it gets weird. I loved Not Wanking because it was true and funny. I got circumcised about 4 years ago.
Just think about, let's let a couple of these things sink in for a second. He liked Not Wanking because it was true and funny. Now, if you've watched the Not Wanking skit, it's not true. You're talking about...
Or funny.
It's definitely not, but you're talking about wanking at your work, at your desk, and ejaculating into your pants.
Yeah.
And then letting it dry and walk home, amongst other things that are far worse.
Yeah.
So the idea that it's true is a red flag.
Bit of a stretch, yeah.
Then
I got circumcised about 4 years ago. Now this is a grown adult.
This is
a grown man.
Adult.
Yeah.
This is a grown-up.
Yeah, this is a grown-up. Now, I got circumcised about 4 years ago.
Now, just the horrific nature of circumcision for someone that can retain the memory of that circumcision, it would be
quite traumatic.
Really brutal.
Well, so, what concerned me was that we hadn't reached this stage in our relationship.
Of talking about at what point you got circumcised?
Exactly. It wasn't a thing. Before this, we had talked about filmmaking stuff. We talked about the zombie movie. I sent him various links of stuff we had watched, but there was no foreskins involved, And then he goes, okay, so I got circumcised about 4 years ago. The doc asked me if I jerk off, and I said yes. I do.
Why would the doctor...
Well, you'll get there.
Okay.
The doctor asked me if I jerk off, and I said yes. 6 times in the morning and 6 times in the evening.
Whoa.
That's some fucking serious jerking, man. That's some next level fucking jerking, homie. Like, 12 times a day.
Okay, but
that's every 2 hours if you even it out throughout a 24-hour period, which you wouldn't.
Never mind about that. The very fact that, like, if he said 12 times evenly distributed through the day, I'd go, whoa, that's a lot of wanking. That's next level wanking. You've got a problem. You've gone from being a healthy masturbator to an unhealthy, perverted freak that jerks off every 5 seconds. First, I'd say that.
Right.
Secondly, the level of superhumanness that it would take to jerk off 6 times, let alone 12 times, in a morning or in an afternoon?
No, well, it was 6 times in the morning, 6 times in the evening.
So that's what I'm saying is so 6 times before he goes to work, he not only finds time to jerk off, I mean, just think about the ramifications of this amount of jerking off.
Well, that's the next part of the story. Is that...
The doctor said, what?
The doctor said, well, that's why you're having problems.
Because you're a fucking freak.
No, because you have a very high libido, sir. Don't feel like a freak. Don't feel like a freak. You have a high sex drive, sir. That's it, okay? And that's fine. But moving on, he said, I had gotten an infection, and after I told the doctor that I jerk off so much, he told me that I didn't need surgery, I just need to stop jerking off so much. And I'm like, okay, good to know. You know, like I'm really taken aback at this point.
Tip.
I'm like, okay, this has really gone really personal.
This has taken a real left turn.
Now he continues, yes, they had to do the surgery to allow the infection to heal. Boy, it hurt. And I was like, okay. And in reality, it wasn't an infection. It was friction from beating it like it owes me money. Ha ha.
Because that is a line that you say in the Not Wanking.
That's true. Oh, yeah, true. Yeah. So he was referring to that.
He was making a reference.
That's good. That's good. And I was like, okay, good. I get the idea.
Dude, I get the picture.
So that's why, okay, well, that makes more sense to me now. At least that's why he's saying it's funny and true. He's talking about beating it like it owes me money and stuff. So look.
So this comical masturbation skit, which implied that you were a sick pervert with masturbatorial problems, serious sexual deviancy, this guy was like, that's me. This is so true. These guys, like...
I can really relate.
The comedy was in the extreme absurdity of the situation, and this guy turns around and is like, extreme? Absurd? Methinks not.
Yeah. So look, if you guys want to see Not Wanking, which I think you do, go search Pigville Not Wanking, and you should find it. Or go straight to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Pigville and the number 2, Pigville 2. I will share it, though, on the Facebook page for our podcast, which is facebook.com/Guy and Harley. I'll share it there for your viewing pleasure, so please do go and check that out. And if you do watch it, please give it a thumbs up, because that really does help us. Now,
what happened to the guy after he told you that story?
Well, he's still on my Facebook, and I'm worried that he's listening. So if you are listening, mate, don't listen to Guy. You're not a dirty pervert.
You have serious issues, dude.
Well, obviously he stopped jerking off, though, because he's fixed his problem.
No, he didn't. He did a stopgap measure, which was basically
surgery.
He surgically removed his foreskin to allow him to beat an silly amount of times per day.
I didn't want to ask him if the surgery stopped him whacking off so much, or if he just cut back, because frankly, I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, of just talking to this guy. And he says he lives way out in the country as well. He says he's like deep in the backwaters of Texas. So he's a deep backwater Texan Trump voter.
This is the kind of people that vote for Trump. Guys that jerk off
12 times a day.
Not just evenly distributed through the day either. 6 in the morning, 6 in the evening, like clockwork.
Honestly, man, look, I can do once in the morning, once in the evening, and that's good for me. I could do a little bit less, I could do a little bit more, but, that's all right. 12?
So
12?
I would definitely not bother with once in the evening or once in the evening, in the morning. I would do once.
Just once a day.
At some point.
Just once a day. Lunchtime, on your break.
And look.
Just in the Uber. Just pull up to a nice quiet spot and just rub one out at lunchtime.
And if I skipped one, whatever.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course. Especially if I was having sex. That's another disturbing thing. If you're wanking off 6 times in the morning, 6 times in the evening.
You have to assume he's not getting laid.
Well, I guess so.
Well, the other thing too is that I'm guessing by the fact that he enjoys... He's repeatedly brought up sort of my hairiness and my kind of cuteness and my ass and all of this stuff from I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. So I think it's safe to assume he's at least bi-curious. Now this... In Texas, in the backwaters of Texas, I don't know. Maybe they're all fucking with hats off. Oh, well, I think they probably are still fucking with hats off. But I feel like it's probably a culture of, homophobia and repression. Exactly. So it must be really hard for a person who is gay or bisexual to get laid in an environment like that.
Yeah.
So no wonder he's jerking off so much. But I mean, 12 times a day, that's a bit much.
But look, if I remember someone recounting a story of a guy who jerked off 4 times a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, he's got a real high sex drive.
Right.
That's a lot of jerking off per day.
Yeah.
Every single day without fail. That's heaps.
Yeah.
He's really, that would be really annoying to have to do that.
To have to schedule that in.
Yeah, and this guy, he's 6 times in the morning.
Yeah.
Forget about 4 times, 6 times in the freaking morning.
Well, he's whacking it so much that he need to get his fucking
He's whacking it so
removed.
much, but he irreparably damaged his penis to the point that it required surgical intervention for his masturbation. Holy shit.
So, good sir, please don't take offense, but...
My advice is... once in the morning, once in the evening. You don't need to do it more than that, matey. You do not need to do it more than that.
Well,
you
some
don't.
people do.
I don't think you do. I think
many of the Guy and Harley show listeners need to do it 6 to 12 times a day.
6 in the morning, 6
They're
in the evening.
wanking right now. They're wanking literally right now while they're listening to this.
That's too many jerks.
That Jason Coombs.
6 in the morning,
Stop
6 in the
wanking,
evening.
Jason.
That's just... Also, that's the other thing is don't you have other stuff to do?
Well, I guess it depends how long it takes him to come, for a stallion such as myself, maybe you'd spend all day doing it, 6 to 12 times, but maybe he's a quick ejaculator, maybe it's a few rubs and he's done.
I guess that would make sense just in the terms of the time.
The sheer time.
The sheer time, because to me, 6 times in the evening and 6 times in the morning, 6 times in the evening, well, that's because the 6 times in the morning went to lunchtime and the 6 times in the evening started at lunchtime and went to the evening.
Yeah.
That's just a full-on jerk off your whole life situation.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's one of...
so it's once an hour for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to sleep immediately because you're so tired. Ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It almost seems like a fictional story. If I wrote that in one of my scripts, the first thing you would flag is you'd be like, look, guy.
That's too much jerking.
Yeah, guy, no one's going to believe. One, you haven't spread it out through the day. That makes it unrealistic. 2, 6 in the morning, 6 in the evening. Come on, bro. Come on. And I'd go, you're right, Harley. I should probably rewrite that. That's got into a farcical, absurd point, and I have to rewrite that script.
So that's what your life is, sir. But I wish you the best. He does seem like a genuinely nice guy, aside from all the wanking.
Just jerks off too much.
Aside from all the wanking.
Lovely guy.
And talking about my hairy butt.
Lovely guy. Just jerks off too much.
Yeah. Cool.
And supports a terrible, terrible human being.
Well, yeah, he's a Trump supporter. That's bad.
Nice guy. Serious political issues, serious sexual issues. Combine those two things, kind of amounts to a lot of your personality. Maybe some problems there. Maybe not so nice.
You leave him alone. He's my Facebook friend.
Maybe not the nicest guy.
He's my Facebook friend. You leave him alone. I'm worried that he's listening. Lucky his internet's shit. He's probably not listening.
No, can't stream it. It's too busy fucking...
wanking.
Yeah.
So, look, I think we're going to draw it to a close.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we'll draw it to a close. I did just want to say that after watching Save It Private Ryan, I kind of went on a...
and jerking off 6 times to it.
Jerking off 6 times to Saving Private Ryan. I kind of went on a continued my Tom Hanks binge.
You developed a Tom Hanks fetish from Saving Private Ryan.
And I watched Forrest Gump again.
Yep.
Firstly, I watched the trailer for Castaway to rewatch because I was like, that's a good movie. I enjoyed Castaway. I watched the trailer. The trailer actually put me off. It was such a horrible trailer.
It's not a great movie.
It fully put me off the movie, and I remember the movie being kind of good.
That's when it was the Tom Hanks zeitgeist, right? So everyone was on the Tom Hanks bandwagon, and even when he'd make films that are not so great, like Castaway, which was okay, but it wasn't great, everyone's like, this is a masterpiece.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed it back in the day, but anyway, I couldn't bring myself to watch it again. But anyway, I watched Forrest Gump, and I came to two realizations. One is that Jenny quite probably exposed Forrest to HIV. Because she dies of a virus which was sexually transmitted. It shows her shooting heroin at a certain point, sharing needles, I assume, and then she comes home and she has sex with Forrest, but that's after her heroin hippie
shenanigans.
Days. Exactly. So it is quite possible that she actually exposed Forrest to HIV.
I'm not a smart man, Jenny.
But we should use a Jimmy.
But I know what a condom is.
That's what he did. And then the other thing I noticed was that Lieutenant Dan did not look after his feet. Which was the number 1 and 2 rules in his regiment. He made a big spiel. He mentions it more than once. He goes, we've got 2 rules around here. Look after your feet. And the other one, I can't remember what the other one was, but then later on he's like, change your socks. Every time we stop, change your socks, blah, blah, blah. And then he got both his feet blown off. So
I believe that was called foreshadowing in the movies.
Yeah. Well, I never noticed it before.
No, I don't really recall that myself.
Good movie. So I just thought I'd bring that up. Just thought I'd mention that.
Well, while you did mention Castaway, which I believe was, if I'm not wrong, directed by Robert Zemeckis, who I believe directed Back to the Future, which is one of my favorite films, who just recently released a film called Allied with Brad Pitt.
Which I will go see.
And the new Angelina Jolie.
Why is she the new Angelina Jolie?
Because Angelina Jolie is now too old and crazy to be Angelina Jolie. So this other remarkable actress
Who is she? What's her name?
I can't. It'll come to me later, but I can't really remember off the top of my head. But she's really fantastic. She's amazing in everything she does. And anyway, I watched that film. So we're coming to the film review section of the old podcast.
You can't ruin anything for me because I am going to watch it.
But it basically involves, and I'm not spoiling anything because this is in the trailer, but essentially Brad Pitt, World War II undercover guy, shacks up with this...
also known as a spy.
Shacks up with this French babe, and then there becomes a question of, could she possibly be a German spy? Could she be...
Subterfuge.
Exactly.
Espionage.
And it was fucking good. It was good. It was a good film, but what it reminded me of what film should be, which is, here's this world, right? I don't know that much about, I know that there were double agents and spies and, people working for both sides at all times during World War II. I don't see many stories about them. I don't watch documentaries, right? This movie gives me a little window into some of the sort of moral questions of that. And that's good, right? And it's an adult thing. You're saying, okay, here's, there's swearing in this, there's, violence, there's all this stuff going on. For an adult, I am an adult, right? None of this superhero bullshit. The spectacle is in the idea that you're being taken back to a place in time, a romanticized version of that, but you're getting taken back to 1941. You're seeing that time period, and that's what's exciting. Not explosions, not superheroes in iron suits, not people flying around, the skies. What's exciting is you've been put in this place in history and you're saying, here's this story about that thing. And I feel like that is what movies are really missing at the moment, is the very fact that this movie is being made is kind of a fluke. And it's clearly because Brad Pitt and this other actress wanted to do it, and Robert Zemeckis wanted to do it. Otherwise, it would never exist. And the sad reality is, box office wise, this has not made very good money over in America. So, really a failed experiment financially speaking. But it's a shame because there needs to be more movies like this that exist, which aren't superhero movies, but they use all of Hollywood's tools. They use Hollywood's money. They use visual effects to tell a story of a time that we can't go back to. They take you on a journey outside of your own, and that's what all films used to do. And now they're all just superhero movies, so they only do it in that one singular way.
So, dear listener, go and watch Allied.
Yeah.
Go check it out in the cinema, support it, so that we can hopefully shape the future of cinema and go away from the popcorn stuff and go into cinema that actually makes you think and tells real stories.
Because that was the first thing that struck me about this film, was that it's like, okay, this is not your typical big blockbuster film in the sense that if you look at the history of films, this is like a long shot, World War II, time period, talking about stuff but this was what we all used to go to see. We used to go, oh, that sounds really cool, we'll go see that. And now it's like, got any superheroes in it? No, don't think I'll give that a miss. And I think that's a real shame. And yeah, we need to bring more of these types of stories to the big blockbuster, because that's what's great about Hollywood blockbusters, is that they have the financial resources and time and talent to explore these rich worlds and show them to us in a way that we haven't experienced before. And unfortunately, the only world that they're choosing is the superheroes and showing that, and we have already seen that before 1 million fucking times. So, that's just my 2 cents on that.
Well, I'll let you know next week after I've seen it, if I see it. Before the next episode, I'm going away to do the Tongariro crossing with my girlfriend because it's her birthday coming up. So we're doing some walking over a mountain.
Jesus.
That'll be fun. It'll be good. It'll be interesting. We're going on a road trip. I've hired a camper van thing. We're going on a road trip, and I'll let you know all about that. But for now, this is award-winning filmmakers, Guy Pigden and Harley Neville, signing off.
Winners of the best short horror film in the world, according to A Night of Horror.
Yep.
In Australia.
So we are signing off. If you would like to see more of our stuff, please go along to YouTube, youtube.com/Pigville2, or just search Pigville on YouTube and you'll find us. Go watch The Project. Go watch Not Wanking.
Go watch Allied.
Go watch Allied. Give this podcast a 5-star rating on iTunes, wherever you are in the world, because that does really, really help us. And also, please go along to facebook.com/Guy and Harley and hit like, because that's where I post a lot of the stuff that we talk about here, and we'll keep you all up to date on our exciting lives and careers. And finally, you might as well add me on Facebook. My name is Harley Neville. I'm trying to build up my personal page, so please add me.
See you later.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley Podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.